boys and girls. I hope you're doing well today. Are you ready to hear a story? Because I am ready to read a story to you. I have a great book to read to you today, and the title of our book is Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum is about a little girl, Mouse, and there is a picture of her right there. Chrysanthemum is also a type of flower. Sometimes we see chrysanthemums in the fall. They bloom in the fall around September or October, and we like to decorate our houses and our buildings with chrysanthemums. Well, the story is about the little girl right here who's very happy at home with her family. But when she has to go to school for the first time, some classmates of hers are not kind to her. They say unkind things to her, and that makes her feel sad, and it makes her not want to go to school. So we're going to read the story and find out how Chrysanthemum solves her problem of not being happy at school, being around friends who are sometimes not kind. And we're also going to talk about the person who wrote the story and who drew the pictures. Kevin Henkes is the author and illustrator of this story. And today I've also read another story by Kevin Henkes. I read Owen in another video. And we have learned about Kevin Henkes before. He wrote Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, which almost all of us have read at some point or listened to at some point. And Lily is a mouse. And a lot of the characters that Kevin Henkes writes about and draws are mice. So he is the author and the illustrator of this book today. And there's another picture of him. An author is a person who writes the words to a story. An illustrator is a person who draws the pictures. And the books that he writes are a lot of fun to read because the stories are fun and the pictures are fun to look at. So I hope that you enjoy this story today, Chrysanthemum. And I also have a couple of pictures of the real flowers, chrysanthemums. Here are some purple and white and yellow chrysanthemums, and they're big and fluffy and really pretty. They're beautiful flowers. And here is a beautiful yellow chrysanthemum like the one that is on the cover of the story. So there it is, Chrysanthemum, the little girl and the flower. Well, I hope that you enjoy this story today, Chrysanthemum, written and illustrated by Kevin Henkes. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father, and she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written in ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. "Hooray," said Chrysanthemum. "School." But when Mrs. Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. "It's so long," said Joe. "It scarcely fits on your name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "You're named after a flower." Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chud that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. "Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chud. "Now put your head down." "If I had a name like yours, I'd change it," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "I wish I could," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "Your name is beautiful." "And precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome," said her father. "It's everything you are," said her mother. "Absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese and ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," she wrote. "She even looks like a flower," said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. "Let's pick her," said Rita, pointing. "Let's smell her," said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought her name was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things." "Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chud. "Now put your head down." "I just cannot believe your name," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "They said I even looked like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "They're just jealous." "And envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced," said her father. "Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours?" said her mother. "After all, it's absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. Excuse me. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. "Chrysanthemum's a daisy! Chrysanthemum's a daisy!" Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is," said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would," said Rita, pointing. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed. She beamed. She bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. Call me Marigold, said Joe. I'm Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. The end. I hope you enjoyed the book Chrysanthemum today by Kevin Henkes. I really enjoyed reading it to you, and I want you to stay safe and keep learning and keep reading, and I hope that I'll see you very, very soon. And remember, when we are with our friends and our family, try to say kind things and nice things to each other, because that will help everybody be happy. So I hope you have a really great day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye, boys and girls.